Instagram, okay? But right now, we're about to have Dominic Jontony. Is that correct? Dominic Jontony? Okay. Jontony's a cool last name. But Dominic Jontony come up. He's actually an alumni of The Ohio State University. Okay. He was a wrestler. He's married to Nicole, who was also an alumni. He was on the gymnastics team, formerly Nicole Crowder. And Dom had his BA in Human Development and has his Master's in Counseling. He has been a licensed counselor for 2 years and has been doing professional counseling for 4 years. Chris Weisthal actually married him and Nicole, and he went to Canada for with Carl for 2 years. So clearly he's extremely plugged in with AIA. They're just well loved, and so we just got to give him a big round of applause. So, Dom.
Is it on? All right, cool. Yeah, again, just first pointing to the trip that Chris was talking about to Puerto Rico. We went to Canada when I graduated. It was amazing. It was definitely life-changing. So please, if you're worried about anything, talk to me. I'll help you go. So just get on that. It's seriously the best time ever. Chris and Carl spent so much time developing not only me, but me and Nicole. We did a lot of premarital counseling together with Chris, and that was so beneficial. So if you guys are like wasting time wondering like there's nobody here for me, these guys are here for you. Julie all these leaders are amazing. So don't hesitate to reach out to any of them. So before we get started, there was a little bit more about me I wanted to share. I was supposed to bring up some pictures of Nicole and I, so bear with me, a little bit more about me. This was our marriage. This is when we got married. Stunning. Incredible. Something you guys don't know is that we have a kid. Yeah, we've had her for about 3 years now. She's a big part of our family. And she's, oh wow, that's really not coming up well. Sorry guys. On the computer, this is our cat. She loves reading. She loves reading. She loves cuddling. She's a big part of our relationship. So. And beyond that, there's now looking back, it's hard to see like where God's going to take you in life. And it was through looking through pictures, I was able to find this picture, and I'm like, man, God must have been calling me into counseling a long time ago. And I saw this picture, and I couldn't help but made me laugh, because this pose is just, I don't know what you want. Just tell me about your problems. And you can't see the t-shirt, but it's Looney Tunes going backwards. It was sweet. I don't have it anymore. But yeah, I wrestled here at Ohio State, met Nicole freshman year through teammates, and we were very much, this was part of our family, the AIA family, so yeah, that's a little bit more about us. So you guys have been talking about a redeeming culture, or building redeeming qualities. And I wanted to talk to you guys about an important one. Just suck it up. Stop being a sissy. Stop being a little girl. Get over your feelings. They don't matter. I mean, how many of you guys heard this? How many of you guys say this to yourself? My time at Ohio State was riddled with it. And getting one thing straight, I'm not trying to say emotions are the most important thing. There's time where you do got to step up and do your job. But what I'm talking about today is redeeming, as Christians, we need to redeem this culture of even just giving it over to God. What does that mean? That's not just the simple process of praying things away. Sometimes we got to do the hard work of actually going through a painful emotion. And that's pretty difficult sometimes. So I wanted to first talk about the downward spiral that can happen when we are kind of ignoring these emotions that we have, when we're just trying to suppress them and prevent them from coming up. Immediately it invalidates you as a human being. So many times through my time at Ohio State, I'll tell myself, like, I'm not allowed to feel this way. I was a walk-on at Ohio State, so I was constantly putting this pressure on me that didn't need to be there. I was invalidating who I was as a human being for the guys that were on full ride. And we were all friends, but at the same time, I invalidated who I was because I wasn't good enough. The coaches, I couldn't get their attention as much as some of the other guys. Our confidence hinges on our accomplishments when we begin to believe our emotions don't matter. We're going to be finding ways to be getting that fulfillment. And one thing was through my sport, through wins, through the things I was able to do, I got emotionally satisfied from those victories or from working hard or doing well in practice. Distorted thinking starts becoming believable. I've worked with a few athletes where just mentioning the word, like what would it be like to lose a match or lose in your sport, tears flow. Like just bringing that thought up because they demand so much perfection out of themselves that they can't even allow themselves to think about what it's like to lose in your sport. Mind you, this is high school. You have a whole life to live. And it's hard to see that when you're in high school, when you're in college. It's hard to know what God's going to provide for you guys outside after this. Well, we begin losing motivation. Again, if we're talking down to ourselves or if we're not realizing what's going on in our hearts, we begin losing motivation. We start feeling more exhausted. It's like, I'm not worth fighting for. I'm not worth all this extra effort. So we literally start getting more anxious because we're demanding ourselves to do more. And we're just compiling pressure and pressure on top of ourselves. Relationships suffer. Again, assuming immediately starts to come into this. But when I'm already talking negative about myself, I'm going to start assuming that other people are seeing these same qualities that I'm making up. And literally, repressing emotions lead to physical symptoms over time. Your stomach is in knots from anxiety. These things come out and you can get sick from them. I've seen many cases have walked in and like just they've gone to see a doctor for this thing that keeps coming up. It's like, it's just anxiety. The medication is not only going to do so much. It's anxiety because they're not willing to do the hard work of unlocking some of the things they've been going through. So these are some of the things that happen when we start going down the downward spiral. And the only way to undo this and untwist this is to start recognizing the pressure you guys are under. And there is a ton of pressure you guys are under. This just happened to come out all P's, so I got very lucky here. Performance. So again, it's like everything we do is demanded our absolute best. You're at The Ohio State University. If you're not competing well, you're not going to play. You might not even be on the team anymore. So everything hinges off of you guys doing well and in schoolwork. Classes, obviously, if you're not having good grades, you can't compete. Peer pressure. Obviously, you guys want to be friends. You want to fit in. This is a good group of people you want to be around, but there's temptations everywhere you go. Pleasing others. This was really huge for me. I wanted to please my coaches. I wanted to prove to them that I was worth staying on the team, not only staying on the team, but being varsity and fighting hard and the pressure I was putting on myself and thinking my family demanded me to be this thing that I wasn't. The platform. You guys are obviously on a huge platform. You're at Ohio State University. You have to watch what you say. You can't put what you want on Twitter. People, our media around here and the community around Ohio State expects you guys to be gladiators in every situation. When you guys open your mouth against something you don't agree with, or you might say something in your personal opinion, and it's like people look down on you as if like you have no rights at all. Your identity is wrapped up in your sport. This was very hard for me. That girl that just spoke about, what it was like for her to retire from her sport, that was the same thing. I thought it would have been an easy transition. My life was in Christ. It was it wasn't as much as I thought it was. I'll say that. On your personal life, you guys have hobbies, and this is a pressure. It might seem like this might be a helpful thing, but it's where do you find time to put these things in? You have friends, relationships, people all over, and some of you guys might be out of state, I would imagine. Maybe even out of the country. I don't know. This was not organized, I apologize. And so now I want to look at, these are ways that, common ways that we ignore our emotions. Again, going back to like, there's plenty of times where we just try to, whatever we try to do, we try to get our emotions from something, even if we're not processing our emotions, we're going to find it through something else. We stuff our feelings. Again, it's like, stop being a crybaby, stop whining about this, get over it. Over-intellectualize. Again, I'm not saying don't be smart, but what I'm saying here is some people just leave everything so far up here, they don't even recognize when they're hurting somebody else anymore because they've been so hurt in the past, they become numb. Sleeping issues, oversleeping, not sleeping at all. Just anxiety can prevent you from going to bed at all. Drug use. Alcohol is a great way to ignore a lot of your problems that are going on in life. Marijuana, painkillers. I can't imagine the temptations you guys are already feeling. Sex and pornography. I didn't want to ignore any of these issues. It's a big issue that this is a common thing that I've seen, and I know is the pressure that you guys are seeing here at Ohio State. Netflix binging. I mean, who hasn't watched a whole season of something in one night? I'm sure we're going to watch something tonight. And again, not all these things are bad. But when you're consuming them over and over again and you find yourself like, this is where I'm getting fulfillment out of, there's something in this. Focus on what you can control. So this could be food, like controlling what kind of food you intake. And this gives you some kind of freedom, what you think is freedom. Over-exercise, cleaning, things like that. These are all ways that we kind of avoid emotions. So now what? It's like now we've kind of addressed a lot of these things of like how to, what to be on the lookout for. But it's like, now what can you do to acknowledge them? Again, this is going to redeeming our minds. I'm going to need some of your guys' help. Can somebody look up Romans 12:2? And someone else look up Proverbs 4:23. Whenever you got it, please read it. Whatever, yeah.
Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life.
Yeah, exactly. So guard your heart, you guys. This is so important. Don't be just blindly feeding into whatever culture, whatever things are telling you. What was the other one?
I got Romans.
Yep.
Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will.
So transform your minds. Like, how do we do that? Again, if we're feeding in and giving into whatever our culture is telling us to do. Emotions can be a reliable indicators of what is going on inside of us. They can be. They can also lie to you. But until you kind of tease those things apart and start getting alone or journaling or finding a way to really process what is going on in here, it is going to be tricky. This is one of my favorite movies. I had to put it up here. You got to get to know these guys. And then the first step in all this is awareness, just like what I was talking about. Like, you need to learn how to be aware of the things that are going on inside of you. Prayer. I guess before I go onto prayer, just like awareness is the first step in anything. It's being aware of like how you're avoiding things, being aware of how you're dealing with things. Awareness in our relationship with Christ. We don't realize we need God until we see the gap that He's able to cover. Sorry, that is a really dumb word to use, but we don't realize we need God until we see the sin that separates us from Him, and He's able to bridge that gap. So that is the first step in our awareness that we can't do it. Like, somehow along the way we lose sight of it's by grace you've been saved through faith. And we start doing works as if we can accomplish things. So prayer is our first line of defense. And in Luke, Jesus 15 times talks about it. It speaks to how he gets away and prays, or he's praying. You know, this is the Son of God. He is without sin, and he's still praying all the time. You know, my life does not look like that. I wish I was praying that often. He made it was so important for him. This was like the first thing he would do early in the morning. And many times he would pray for things to be taken away. Detach. Learning how to detach from a situation is hugely important. When we are in the midst of any kind of pain, there needs to be some kind of time when you are pulling away from it and just trying to think of, like, how am I reacting right now? You know, what is this making me feel like? You know, is there another perspective I can be looking at? If we don't ever take time to ever detach from a situation, like with our coaches or with teammates or whatever, we can never look and see, like, what am I doing wrong and how can I do something different? Shift your perspective. James 1:2 says, "Consider it pure joy when you face trials of any kind." That is one of my favorite verses because it demands for you to, again, change your perspective. We don't have the answers, and for some reason we think we do. I've done that. It's just me. For some reason I think I've had it all. I've had all these answers, and I start questioning God. But, like, why can't I start questioning myself ever? So this is a way to shift your perspective, and that verse is one that I cling to often. Own your emotions. Don't blame somebody else for making you feel a certain way. This was a big one for me again. Is I had to own my emotions when this was my junior year at wrestling. I had to eventually take responsibility for how I was feeling in a lot of situations, and I was feeling really invalidated by the coach, and it wasn't anything he was trying to do. It was something he was missing. He was blind to it because he wasn't aware what was going on fully. And when I went up and talked to him about it, we ended up having this awesome conversation, and he didn't know how I was being hurt. But until I owned that emotion and stopped blaming him for making me feel a certain way, that would have always continued. Seek good counsel. I mean, obviously here at Athletes in Action, like, I would hope some people here, you found a relationship with them and community with them. I would hope, and I don't think every team is built this way, but I would hope some people on your teams or your coaches are safe people you can go to. People within your family or whatever church you guys go to. So this is an example. I'm gonna have to ask 2 volunteers because I don't want to read this. So I'm gonna do 1 through 6, and someone else do 7 through 12. Can any of you guys, like, help me out here?
I got you.
Okay.
Lord, hear my
your servant into judgment, for no one living is righteous before you. The enemy pursues me, he crushes me to the ground. He makes me dwell in the darkness like those long dead. So my spirit grows faint within me, my heart within me is dismayed. I remember the days of long ago. I meditate on all your works and consider what your hands have done. I spread out my hands to you. I thirst for you like a parched land.
Answer me quickly, Lord. My spirit falls. Do not hide your face from me, or I will be like those who go down to the pit. Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love. For I have my trust in you. Show me the way I should go. For to you I entrust my life. Rescue me from my enemies, Lord, for I hide myself in you. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. May your good spirit lead me on level ground. For your namesake, Lord, preserve my life. In your righteousness, bring me out of trouble. In your unfailing love, silence my enemies. Destroy all my foes, for I am your servant.
I wanted to share this one specifically with you guys because David understands something here that I think we can really miss. This clearly wasn't his first song that he wrote. This isn't his first time writing like this. So there's something expectant he has as he's going to God like this. Listen to my cry for mercy. He talks about being pursued, being crushed to the ground. I can honestly say I rarely talk like this to God. David does this often. What I think he understands, though, is that he understands that we need to be real with God. If we're not real with him, we're going to find it another way. He was ridding himself from all distractions. He wasn't, obviously they didn't have TV, but there was entertainment. There was things he could have been doing, but he chose not to. He still chose to get away. He got away from everything, pursued God. He made time to, obviously this was etched somewhere, so we have it today. I forgot I had the clicker. I wanted you guys to have an opportunity to talk about either that song we just read out loud together and these questions together right here. So whatever, do you guys do that normally? Break into how many groups?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 people.
Okay. All right, let's do that.
Go ahead, break into groups around you.
Sorry, yeah. Mark was
But honestly, like years, high school years, college, they do show you emotions.
Is it off? Okay.
You were like, I was watching this. It helps me.
Common denominator.
How you guys doing? Couple more minutes, guys.
happy then. Yes. Yes. You have to walk you have, I'm not even going to tell you what you just said. It's not a review. So we think of it. We think it's like, which one is the biggest? You've seen Inside Out, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite movies.
That's why I said it.
But you gotta say, listen, you guys, one application where you have to watch this movie so you can see the importance of all the different emotions. Who's seen it? You got one, if you don't do anything from anything I said, watch this movie, and that's why it's important. Seriously, I really thought more about it.
I do love it.
You could probably have Chris come do it.
It's so good.
All right, guys, let's bring it together. I think you missed my point in how important this movie is to me. Who here has seen it? Who here has not? What is wrong with you?
You have to watch it. You have to watch it. It's not just a girly kid movie. It's called Inside Out.
If you take anything out of this talk, go watch this movie. And report back why are your emotions important. Chris really wanted me to say that.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Is there anything you guys got out of the discussions you wanted to talk about or bring up? What were some like big points you guys mentioned?
Chris needs to get up
Yeah,
there.
do you want to start? Yeah.
Something that when we were talking through things was kind of occurring to me and we were discussing it was like when you see instances in the Bible of Jesus showing emotions, there's a certain set of emotions that he shows, and then there's a certain set that we might define in this world as emotions, but that he's not really showing. So like he's not condemning, he's not angry, or unless it's like a righteous anger, or he's like, look, this is so not glorifying God at all. But he's not like ever angry at a person for their sin, or angry because of an action, and like because they're a sinner. And so I think that can set us apart on our teams because there's a certain set of emotions that we should show. Like we can show genuine sadness, we can show joy, we can show love, we can show compassion, but then there's a certain set that it's not really Christ-like to show because Jesus doesn't show those ones either. Like he's not angry at people and displeasing people and being condemning of people. And so I think that we can look at that and with our teams interact differently as a result.
That's awesome. Anything else, you guys? Yep.
We kind of talked about how, like, I don't know, particularly as, like, females, like, just being in the sport world, like, just feeling the need to, like, suppress your emotions, like, be like the guys, or at least, like, suppress your emotions in a way to, like, validate you or validate your sport, like, just as a way to fit in. Like, there's just this tendency for females to, like, we always have to, like, suppress our emotions and show that we're not girly or we're not, like, we're athletic, which is just, like, really dumb because women have such, an extensive emotional makeup and map that's, like, a horrible decision, but like probably something that like 90% of people, women in this room have done. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Women typically, women are more emotional, but they're more connected to their emotions. That's not saying it's a bad thing. Men obviously, typically, are not as connected to their emotions. So it's a skill set women have that they can teach men. Which, again, that could go into another discussion of why marriage is so fun.
What emotion are you feeling right now?
I'm going to get my butt kicked later.
Scared, yeah, I was scared.
I don't know if I mentioned this. There's a lot of these different. There's anxiety, depression, perfectionism. I brought a bunch of them. They're from where I work. It's at Cornerstone. If you want, take them. There's simple ways to deal with some of these things. Yeah, that was just a side note. I don't know if I brought that up or not. Anything else you guys wanted to bring up or point out with the discussion?
Okay, so I don't want to make this about me, this is all Jesus, but like, I'm in an emotion regulation class, and it's like 5,000 level, like it's everything psychologists know about emotions and how we regulate them and all the different methods and what works best and what doesn't, what the tendencies are, blah, blah, blah. And like, honestly, like this sums it up better than like any psychological research out there, like any, like, and it just like really like points to the fact that yeah, like Jesus, like there's like this emotional pull in our hearts that Jesus.
Wow, thanks for sharing. Any other questions or nothing like that? Here, thank you guys again for having me. Before I end, if we can pray together, or one of you guys want to, I don't know. How do you guys
Don't close it out.
Okay.
Give it up for them. I don't know about you guys, but that was something that I definitely need to hear, whatever, with me even being on staff. We talk about this and everything, like struggle with like anxiety of like